Let's move on to General Mills. The company announced it is increasing its quarterly dividend by 5%, which seems like just one more reason to buy this stock, which has rather quietly done well over the past couple of years. If you think of certainly the last year, the stock's up about 20% compared to a market down around 6% or so. And we were chatting about this earlier this morning, and I made because when I hear General Mills, I immediately think of cereal. Mm-hmm. And these are the people who make Cheerios and other cereals as well, but Cheerios is the first one that comes to mind. And your colleague, Brian Hinman, quickly pointed out that, hey, General Mills has a lot more going on than just cereal. And he's right. All manner of packaged foods coming out of General Mills. Is this a stock that's, I don't know, it seems like kind of a quiet, boring stock, but certainly over the last couple of years, it's done quite well.
It's a quiet, boring stock with some pluses and some minuses. It is not really growing total sales very much. It's a pretty flat story over the last 3 years in sales. It's flat over a longer period of time in terms of real profits. Nevertheless, we're talking about it because it's raising its dividend, which it does basically every 4 quarters. It raises its dividend. It's raising it 2 cents a share, which is less than the previous 4 or 5 annual dividend raises, which makes sense because they're not really growing their earnings fast enough to grow the dividend more than that. The payout ratio is already was 83% last year, so they're taking most of their profits and giving them back to shareholders directly in the form of dividends. They've also been buying back some shares. So what earnings per share growth you're seeing in this company of late, and of late, I mean last half decade, has mostly been buying back shares. So that's kind of the bad news. It is sleepy. It's not moving forward dramatically like a lot of stocks we would tend to talk about here, which have more interesting ups and downs. There are no real downs here. It hasn't had a down year on a total return level, that's both the stock price movement and the dividend, in over 10 years. So people own it for stability. It's consumer staples. Things don't change rapidly in the cereal market, although we can talk about what's on the horizon for cereal. And they diversify into so many other things, pizza and soup, Progresso, Yoplait yogurt, frozen foods. They've got Pillsbury. They've got a lot of brands here. There are a lot of places that they are on the store aisle, all over it, and that gives them a great deal of stability.
Yeah, there was that story recently about how millennials aren't eating breakfast cereal because
it's too hard.
It's because it involves cleaning up dishes. And I just remember reading that and thinking, I'm not digging into what, if any, science or surveys are actually happening in this, but that just strikes me as slightly absurd.
Not to make fun of chronic fatigue syndrome, which is a real thing.
It is a real thing.
But this sounds like an entire generation that is bucking for chronic fatigue syndrome. Like,
that's what it sounded like, or just flat out laziness.
I just can't put the dishes in the dishwasher,
right?
Because then you got to open it, you got to roll the tray out,
put the clean dishes back in the cabinet.
You got to put some detergent in. It's a whole thing.
It's not worth it. You know what I'd rather do? Take a sleeve of yogurt, one of those yogurt tubes, and just jam that in my mouth, swallow it whole, and then throw it away, because that doesn't involve dishes.
Maybe just take the box of cereal out and just eat it with your hands. If the whole bowl and spoon thing are too much for you millennials, skip it. Just pour it straight into your mouth.
Do you think it's possible that cereal consumption, which is declining, not at some precipitous rate, but it is declining in cereal sales, not just General Mills, but you look across the industry, they are declining. Do you think it might possibly have a little bit more to do with people trying to reduce carbs in their diet?
I think it's got to do with a lot of transitions in how people eat, and eat especially prepared foods and foods which are not necessarily designed for your health. Like, I don't know, Trix, I think is a, despite
Is Trix not healthy? Isn't Captain
it's
Crunch
got
healthy?
7 or 11, essential vitamins and minerals, right?
It's part of your complete breakfast.
It is part of your complete breakfast. And so not everybody buys that, apparently. And so the great sugary cereals of our youth are not growing their sales. But Cheerios is very stable.
Nope.
You raised your kids on Cheerios, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, it's actually kind of the law in this country.
It kind of is the law. It's certainly an easy snack when kids are little and you're, just throwing a bunch of, you can't just throw a bunch of, cornflakes on their tray and
Frosted Flakes at them.
or Captain Crunch, because that won't go well.
Right.
Particularly if they're just starting to.
So they've got
get
all
teeth
these things that are still very relevant, but they're not really growing in entirety. And so,
oh wow, you're back to General Mills. I thought we had just completely gone off topic.
I
and just focused
occasionally
entirely
go back on
cereal.
topic. We can talk about cereal as long as you want, but the point is that these things are stable, but in slight decline. They'll introduce some new extensions to the brands, more different flavors of Cheerios, and pick up a brand every once in a while. But the total package ends up being a stable but not very fast growing thing.